Today, I would like to bring up the subject, which is one of the most striking ones in neuroscience these days. It's a buzzword which has some implication in the real science, and the subject is neuroplasticity. So shall we start? As a start, I would like to define what is neuroplasticity and what does it do for us. So let's agree that neuroplasticity is a capacity to change someone's, yours or mine, nervous system to function at its best. And it is a basis of our memory, of our ability to acquire new motor skills. It's a basis also of our ability to acquire some new cognitive skills. And when we say cognitive skills, we usually mean learning languages, learning math, learning music, learning literature, whatever learning it is. And also it's the basis of adaptation to changes. And what could those changes in our brain be? It can be, unfortunately, injury or disability. So this ability to adapt would be the basis for future success of our brain to recover from some unfortunate circumstances which can happen. What does neuroplasticity do to us? It affects the structure and functions of neural circuits and systems. It also affects organization of functional representations, which can be cortical maps. Let's also stop by the factors which are defining neuroplasticity in our brains. So, what does it depend on? How our neuroplasticity is being defined? So, it is our central neural system is a self-organizing system which is being launched endogenously. As soon as the two cells come together, the program of rolling out a new system, aka a new personality, starts. And today we are talking about our brain mostly, and neuroplasticity in this brain. So what is it based on? It's based on genetic specification, which is like a code which is encoded in our DNAs, on sensory motor experience. Sensory motor experience is something that we are getting from our experience with the surroundings, and it can be sensoring, it can be vision, it can be gustation, olfaction, all those functions, or any learning experience that we are getting from whatever surrounds us. And it is based on dynamical systems, which in this case means the dynamics of our body, which happens inside our body, visceral dynamics, let's say. Where does this neuroplasticity happen? So neuroplasticity happens in the synapses of our neural networks. Not just synapses, also within neuronal bodies of our neural networks. And within glia, glia is a substance that surrounds our neuronal networks. How it happens in glia? The astrocytes, which are part of glia, and they look like the stars. I'm gonna show this are astrocytes. they are modulating the activity of our neurons. Also worth mentioning probably that in this picture in the middle, you see the neuronal body, and synapses in red you see on the picture, which is to the very left. Also, to understand neuroplasticity, it's worth understanding what is called Hebb's postulate. Hebb is a scientist, psychologist, if I remember correctly, which lived in the last century, first half. And although he didn't have that much of facilities to investigate our brains, he still came up with a postulate which turned out to be true later on, as it often happens in science, and it was proven that it's actually true. And to sum up, this postulate says that neurons that fire together also wire together. And if we dive a little bit deeper into this, then we can say that coordinated activity in between the presynaptic terminal and the postsynaptic cell would strengthen the synaptic connection between the two neurons. Coordinated means happening at one moment in the same place. And uncoordinated activity, meaning happening at different time moments between synaptic partners. By synaptic partners, we again mean presynaptic terminal and postsynaptic cell, would weaken their synaptic connection. So again, in short, neurons that fire together, wire together. So what's all this for us? Let's get into some more practical usage of rules of neuroplasticity. Here, I should give all the credit for this to the article, which was published in 2008 by Claim and Jones. And you can see in yellow the reference I put here to this article. You can Google it, find it, read it yourself. This article was intended to sum up the implications of neuroplasticity rules for rehabilitation after brain damage. So those rules are mostly formulated for the brain damaged patients, but I don't see why not. We can not use these rules also for enhancing our healthy brains. So how can we improve the neuroplasticity of our brains? Rule number 1, use it or lose it. What does this mean? This means that synaptic connections and the whole neural circuits, which we are using frequently, are staying there or even getting stronger. And those which we don't use, if you put it to the everyday practice, the skill which we don't practice, we are losing it. So to keep the neural connections alive, we should be using them frequently. Rule number 2, use it and improve it. Like already said, the more we use a circuit of neurons or the whole network, the stronger it gets. Just like a path in the snow. You use it once, it gets there on the map, but for this path to stay deeper and more solid, you have to use it every day, several times a day. Just like that, synaptic connections are also getting stronger when we are using them. Rule number 3, specificity. So, what does this rule tell us? That rule is basically about skillful repetition and practice of something. So, skillful repetition makes our synaptic connections stronger, unlike unskillful. A metaphor here can be skillful exercises, let's say, of your legs. If you are doing them with some certain knowledge of what you're doing, if you're doing those repetitions with some skillful knowledge, then the muscles on your legs are getting stronger in a more efficient way, and you see the results quite soon. But if there is no skillful plan for what you are doing in the gym with your legs, let's say, then the probability of you seeing some results in the near future is very low. Just like that, it works with the neural networks. Whatever you are doing to exercise your neural connections is better and more effective when you are doing it skillfully. Repetition matters. Repetition matters. The more we repeat some skill, the stronger neural connection associated with the skill gets. So this rule is pretty easy. Rule number 5, intensity matters. Intensity matters means that the task that our brain is doing should be challenging for the brain. If the task is not challenging enough for the brain, a new connection and new neural networks will not be formed. So for the neuroplasticity to happen, for new networks to be built, the task that we are doing should be intense enough, should be challenging enough for our brain. Time matters is the rule of neuroplasticity number 6. And what it means is that neuroplasticity is not a one-time event. It is a process. And sometimes to acquire a certain skill, or if you talk in the terms of brain, for a new network to be built, a new neuronal network to be built, our brain requires time. So again, give it some time for the skill to be acquired. Rule number, I think it's 7. I should have put numbers here instead of this triangle. Anyway, rule number 7 is salience matters. What does this mean? It means that the training experience which we are having to acquire a certain skill should be sufficiently salient to us to induce the plasticity. I'll give a real life example. For example, learning a foreign language. If we are trying to learn a foreign language which is not really going to add any value to our lives, such a learning would be going really, really hard. So there is no salience in this for us. So for us to be able to acquire a certain skill, for us to be able to build a corresponding neural network, the skill that we are trying to acquire should have considerable weight, considerable meaning, considerable importance for us. Rule number 8, age matters. So unfortunately, at where we stand right now, younger brains are more inclined to, more open uh, to building new networks, to recovering after lesions, aka more plastic, let's say. And the older the person gets, the less likely plasticity to happen in a brain. But it's still optimistic, and we should remember that with sufficient efforts, changes are possible in any age. So never give up trying. Rule number 9, transference. What is transference? It refers to the ability of plasticity within one set of neural circuits to promote concurrent or subsequent plasticity in another neural circuits. So as we know, everything in our head is actually connected. And it is a well-known fact that acquiring one skill, practicing one skill, can induce also others. As a very simple example is this recommendation for children to develop small motor skills, like taking some kind of seeds and playing with them. And this is believed to also impact their ability to start talking, so their speech. And I believe you could give more examples of transference, put them in the comments section. Rule number 10, interference. So interference obviously means the impact which one skill, acquiring one skill, can have on other skills, which, if you speak in neuroscience language, building one network can have impact on another network. And we should always keep that in mind. And this impact is not always positive. It can also be negative. And why this, in that article about how to recover damaged brains, it's clearly understandable. It's very important that the recovering from injury brains are passing through the right process, which allows patient to return or build new skills which they had before the brain injury. So mostly like that, but maybe you will also have examples from the real life and put them in the comment section below. These are all the rules of neuroplasticity that I wanted to go through today, and I'll see you in the next video.